Hello again. I'm back for another round. Already done the 49ers post-game show here on the YouTube, and now we could talk a little bit more. First about Nick Bosa, then about Brandon Aiyuk. Told everybody not to freak out. When was that? A month ago? 6 weeks ago? Whenever it was, there was a lot of freaking out about Brandon Aiyuk that didn't really need to happen. He was going to find his way because he was talented enough to find his way. This was not a Dante Pettis situation. And the 49ers handled everything the way that they should have with Brandon Aiyuk. And I'll explain that in a little bit. First of all, wrote about Nick Bosa today, who now has 10 sacks on the season. That is a career high. And he's done it 14 months after he tore his ACL. The guy is special. So make sure you check out that piece. I'm going to put it right here in the chat section. I should probably put it in the comments section of my initial post-game show. But you guys know the drill. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. In fact, right now I'm creating a broadcast so our friends on Twitter can join as well. And as soon as they join, then I'm going to tell them that they need to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So hello, everybody that is now following along on Twitter. If you were not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do so right now because we got a lot of good content coming with the 49ers now at 5-5 on the season. I look at this as a brand new slate for the 49ers. They control their own destiny in the playoff race. They face a manageable schedule the rest of the way, and they're finally consistently delivering their brand of football. 7 games to go, 5-5, out of the hole. Minnesota coming into Levi Stadium on Sunday. Not a bad time to be following the 49ers, especially since you have a lot of other teams in the league throwing up all over themselves. I mean, even the 8-2 Titans today lost at home to the previously 1-8 Houston Texans. So it's a tough league. There's a lot of parity. There's a lot of vacillation from week to week. But if the 49ers can show the consistency that they did against the Rams and here against the Tennessee Titans, they should be fine when they come out toward the end of this. You know, one thing about these long seasons is that you're going to go through some rough patches. And I think that 2019 might have spoiled people a little bit with the 49ers because there weren't any really rough patches. They lost 3 games all year. They dominated the playoffs. And of course, the roughest patch was the final 7 minutes of the Super Bowl. But generally, and this is true for even a lot of the 49ers Super Bowl winning teams, one of their 5 or, of their 5 winning championship teams, there's going to be tough times over the course of the regular season, probably with the 1988 49ers being the best example of that. But it doesn't matter. Every season is its own story. And this story for the 49ers is particularly interesting. They're now 5-5 after that game. So subscribe to the channel on YouTube, even if you're just a Twitter follower. If you're just a YouTube follower, make sure to follow on Twitter at Lombardi himself. And we'll talk a little bit about Nick Bosa. But I promised that Brandon Aiyuk was going to be the main topic of discussion in this video. So I'm going to take Nick Bosa off the screen and go to the box score of the game. 30-10, 49ers win. This is the little box score app that we use while everything's happening. And then you could see what each individual receiver did. Brandon Aiyuk, 7 catches for 85 yards. Now I'm going to erase the stats because what I'm going to say right here, I think brings a lot full circle. Took a lot of heat for this. People were arguing. People were throwing food at each other on Twitter, if that's even possible. Over this entire issue about a month ago when things weren't going well. And it was about Brandon Aiyuk and what was wrong with Brandon Aiyuk. Why weren't the 49ers getting Brandon Aiyuk the ball more? Was he in the doghouse? All this, all that. All that noise missed the point, which is why I came out with a video that said, guys, don't worry about Brandon Aiyuk. Chill about Brandon Aiyuk. And now you see why. He's had several straight good games. I would say 4 straight productive games now. Today, 7 catches for 85 yards was Aiyuk's biggest game of 2021 yet. The kid has talent. The 49ers have good coaching. That talent was going to rise to the surface sooner rather than later. Let's recap what happened with Brandon Aiyuk. He had a big 2020 rookie season, so the expectations for him skyrocketed. There was also PTSD from the 49ers fan base because second-year receivers under Kyle Shanahan, namely a guy named Dante Pettis, seemed to have flamed out in the past. Deebo Samuel had a bad second season, but it wasn't because of coaching or any regression on his part. It was because of injuries. And now Deebo Samuel is playing at an all-pro level. So that kind of debunks the theory that receivers can't develop under Kyle Shanahan. But the combination of that Dante Pettis PTSD And the fact that Brandon Aiyuk strained his hamstring during training camp created an interesting situation. Because let me tell you what, the biggest misconception about Brandon Aiyuk is that he somehow loafed his way through the offseason and entered some kind of doghouse, just like Dante Pettis did a couple years ago. Brandon Aiyuk showed up to training camp in the best shape of his life, 5 pounds heavier of muscle. He was in good shape muscle-wise, and he was developing excellent rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. He was tearing it up at the start of training camp. You can go back to any one of my camp reports where I talked about it. He had an off-schedule rapport with both of the QBs. He looked really good. Then came the hamstring injury. Then came some missed time for Brandon Aiyuk, and he lost his rapport with the QBs. He lost that momentum that he had going, and that stretched into the regular season. He didn't have his full snap load against the Detroit Lions because he was still coming back from that hamstring, and then he got his full snap load back. So that debunked the doghouse theory. That was never a thing for Brandon Aiyuk. That was contrived social media gossip. But for some reason, the 49ers still weren't throwing Brandon Aiyuk the football, even though he had his regular share of snaps throughout the first weeks of the season. And it's easy to see why now, especially since Aiyuk has talked about it, especially since Kyle Shanahan has talked about it. But that hamstring injury set him back in practice, and he did not reassert himself in practice. And I saw a lot of crying on Twitter, on YouTube, on all the social media apps. Oh, this is all Kyle Shanahan's fault. He just, gets mad at receivers and he needs to scheme him the ball. It's Kyle Shanahan's fault that a receiver as explosive as Brandon Aiyuk is not getting the football. And here's a news flash. That is not how professional sports or sports at any level, competitive sports, work. You aren't just entitled to the ball or entitled to playing time. You have to earn these things. Because you see how intricate the 49ers offense is right now. You have a division of labor as far as the receiving production goes, generally between Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, and George Kittle. You have a division of labor between that in the passing game and an intricate running game. Stuff has to flow. There has to be rhythm. There has to be, a semblance of a well-oiled machine going here, and the 49ers have established that. And the metaphor that I use here is that you can give a man a fish, and he's going to eat for a day. But if you teach a man how to fish, he can eat for the whole season. And of all the crying that people did about a month ago, scheme Aiyuk more touches, force feed him the ball, that would have been so short-sighted of the 49ers. What they had to do is say, hey, you need to come back with a vengeance in practice. We know you had this hiccup with the hamstring. You need to come back and you need to start running your routes to purpose in practice. You need to start developing rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo in practice. He needs to trust where you're going to be because you're going to be hightailing it in practice. And then that is going to naturally extend into games. That's where that trust is going to be built on the practice field. That's how the NFL actually works. It doesn't just work like Madden. Oh, Kyle Shanahan needs to give him the ball more and he'll be okay. No, Aiyuk had to earn that on the practice field. And as soon as he did, came around the time of that Chicago game, you could tell that Jimmy Garoppolo, there was an off-schedule play. Jimmy was rolling out. Options broke down. He trusted where Aiyuk was going to be, found him for a first down in a big game. That was the start of this. And now it's continued. Today, Garoppolo found Aiyuk back of the end zone while he was getting hit. That was a trust play. He needed to know where Aiyuk was going to be. Nobody's talking about that first drive. 20 plays, but one of those plays was 3rd and 12. Jimmy Garoppolo finds Brandon Aiyuk in stride. He's able to run after the catch for 2 or 3 yards, gain the first down. That was all huge for the 49ers. And what's happening with Aiyuk now looks and feels sustainable because the 49ers did not take the easy road. They didn't fall for the clickbait. They didn't panic and say, oh, we need to force feed Brandon Aiyuk. They made sure that the practice habits came first and the efficiency followed after. So the result now is a trio of very dependable weapons. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, George Kittle in the pass game. Kyle Shanahan today said that I think this is the first time we've had all three of those guys available for more than a game or two at a time. It's allowing Jimmy Garoppolo to get into rhythm. This is how the passing attack and the offense in general can take the next step, as opposed to the sporadic availability where you might have Deebo Samuel setting records, but Brandon Aiyuk is not running good routes, not getting enough separation. doesn't have the rapport he needs with the quarterback, so he's not available and George Kittle's hurt. No, instead, you have Deebo Samuel doing what he needs to do. He's playing some running back. He's playing some receiver. You have Brandon Aiyuk leading the 49ers in receiving, 7 for 85, big catches all around. And you have George Kittle mauling people, blocking his ass off, and catching touchdowns and fourth down. You have that all at once. It took time. It took patience, but the 49ers now have all three at once. And that's why this offense, it's fair to be bullish about this 49ers offense. Because now they have all three of these guys, and they need a top 5 offense to reach the Super Bowl this year. That's just the way it has to be. We've done all the calculations. We've done all the probability. We know the tape. We know the eye test. We know the defense is not the 2019 defense. Offense will need to be top 5. They're going to need to be ball hogs. They're going to need a run to do that. They're going to need to move the chains with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball to do that. And they're going to need legit multiple receiving options to whom the ball's distributed to be able to do that. And with Aiyuk, naturally in rapport with Garoppolo, with Kittle there, and with Deebo Samuel there, the 49ers have achieved just that. So patience pays off, and it has with the 49ers pass game. Just wanted to bring that full circle because there were a lot of dumb comments about that Brandon Aiyuk situation about a month ago, but the talent shone through. They didn't hit the panic button, and it worked in this situation. All right, let's talk about some of these things. Some questions. Getting healthy and playing your best ball at the right time is going to be huge for the 49ers. That's what it looks like right now. They have the Vikings next week. They're by no means home free, but they've earned themselves a clean slate, which at 5-5, you got to be happy with after that Arizona game. Yep, this is true. The casuals are the only ones who believe Aiyuk is being jail celled or wasn't good and should be traded. The casuals don't understand that an NFL season is a long movie, a long novel, and there are many chapters to it. You know, another thing that the casuals wanted to do was insert Trey Lance after one good pass in training camp. Now you have Jimmy Garoppolo as one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football over the past month. Trey Lance is Trey Lance. He's going to be fine. He's going to develop just like Brandon Aiyuk is going to develop over time, but it certainly wasn't going to be in 2021. A few debates with people on Twitter this weekend over that. This was Jimmy Garoppolo's team in 2021, and now we see why. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw to Aiyuk, to Samuel, and to Kittle in 2021, and now we see that that plan is also coming to fruition. Patience is important. Don't get too high after the wins. Don't get too low after the losses. And I think the last 10 games have really taught us a stabilizing lesson about analysis in a wild year of 2021. Hey, Joe. I know Joe. This is cool. We took a picture together before, I believe, the 49ers Packers game. Was that it? Or was it the Seahawks game? I forgot. A lot of games. Joe's a good guy. Cal fan. Cal beat Stanford yesterday. They just kicked their ass, man. Stanford. Oh, that's ugly this year. Yeah, the Brandon Aiyuk stuff is just noise. There's been a lot of noise around the 49ers. I think the 49ers let a little bit of the noise maybe get to them during their rut. There's just so much conflicting stuff. Maybe that's why some of their verve and, you know, that magic that wasn't quite there. But tell you what, it's back. And when you need to get energy and that positive swag back, it's like pushing a car that's been stalled. The first few inches and the first few feet are going to be really, really difficult to get going, right? You're behind the car, you're pushing it. But once you have momentum, it's ready to roll. And I think the 49ers are now at the point where they can run from the back and hop into the driver's seat and kick that engine into gear and hit the gas and get on the freeway. Now, if they lose to the Vikings, it means they've stalled again and they're going to get out of the car and they're going to have to start pushing again. They're going to have to start from zero. So you have to keep this positive energy going. But when it was stalled, I think the noise was getting to the 49ers a bit. And to get to the spot where the noise wasn't getting to them, where they were doing well, where they were feeling that swag, they had to do some dirty work. They had to start pushing the car to get to where they are now. And as far as the dirty work in today's game, this is kind of a one-off, you know, a little side note. Juwan Jennings is a guy that I want to highlight. Hey, that was awesome. First, you have the turnover differential. You have to win it, right? If you lose the turnover differential, you end up like almost every 49ers team under Kyle Shanahan, except for the 2019 team, you end up as a losing club. But if you win the turnover differential, you're in the driver's seat toward winning. Jeff Wilson fumbles early in this game, but who recovers it? Juwan Jennings comes diving in front of 3 Jaguars, recovers that ball. Then he forces an ejection because he pisses the Jaguars off so much with his hard-nosed run blocking. He's a guy that you hate to play against, but Juwan Jennings is a guy that you love to have on your team because he does that dirty work. The dirty work turns into success. The success turns into swag. 49ers have that swag back. They push that car. They're going to get in the driver's seat now, and we'll see if they can hit that gas and get on the freeway against Minnesota. I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk was slacking off, to answer this question. I think that the hamstring knocked him out of rhythm, and he had to learn how to attack his routes in practice. It's more nuanced than just slacking off and not trying. I think he was trying. I think he was working hard. But you have to be able to put yourself in a different mental gear to succeed in the National Football League, which is why you see sophomore slumps. And Aiyuk wasn't slacking off over the offseason. He came ready during training camp physically. He won the punt return battle. It wasn't going to be easy to win that punt return battle because the 49ers are reluctant to use one of their most talented receivers at punt returner. But he dictated that. He earned the punt return battle, even though people said that was impossible. I told you he was going to be the punt returner, and Brandon Aiyuk's the punt returner. Now he's also a leading receiving target for the 49ers because he learned how to attack what he needed to attack in practice and develop that rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think we'd be having this discussion if Aiyuk didn't strain his hamstring. But I think that was the wake-up call that he and the 49ers needed to make sure that that rapport is being built, that he wasn't riding on talent alone. And it all worked out. So all of this is gray area. All this is funky. This bullshit about doghouse and this and that just wasn't true. So don't listen to the clickbait. Pay attention to the steady ship. The 49ers are trying to steady the ship. And that's what we're covering right now. And Brandon Aiyuk has definitely steadied that ship. This is also true. Aiyuk's slow start will only help the 49ers because teams are starting to focus more on stopping Debo. Now, today, Debo Samuel was about to cross the 1,000-yard receiving mark, but he was too successful running the ball as a running back, so he only caught one pass. But Aiyuk got the majority of the pass-catching load for 7 for 85. You're starting to see how the entire offensive apparatus and the balance that's going to be necessary for it to sustain itself is going to work. You know what else the 49ers are doing? I didn't realize that. That's interesting. So the 20 playoffs of offensive drive was the longest one since 2000. 49ers are making a habit of these long drives, which is really impressive. Remember the 290-plus yarders against Philadelphia? Obviously, you had the opening 18-play drive against the Rams last week, and now this record-setting or the longest one since 2000 drive against the Jaguars at 20 plays. It takes a good offense. It takes execution to do those things, and the 49ers have spread those efforts out over the course of this season. So that's exciting for this offense moving forward. All right, guys, I'm going to have a lot of content this week. So you guys make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I am going to go watch the Warriors, watch the Steelers-Chargers game, do all that stuff. If you have a video idea, if you want to hear about stuff that you want me to talk about, I want to make these as interactive as possible. So leave your desires in the comment section for whatever 49ers topics you want me to tackle. And we're going to hit a lot of YouTube content this week. Make sure to subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, and follow along on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want, at Lombardi himself. All right, everybody take care. It was fun talking about Brandon Aiyuk, Nick Bosa, whoever else you want to talk about. We'll hit more of it this week. Everybody have a good Sunday evening. Bye now.